thinner than.
I am a lot thinner, yeah. It's like a little PTSD of I can still hear Fickle yelling at me.
James, what were the deciding factors in you coming back to Columbus?
Alma mater, obviously it's I love the game of football, and I love working with young people. So that's why I got into coaching. You want to impact the kids on the field, but more importantly, you want them to leave after building relationships with them as better men, and as hopefully give them an example of what being a good husband and father can be. Same thing that Luke Fickle did for me, and same thing Jim Tressel did for me. And so you pair that with your alma mater, you pair that with Columbus, Ohio, and when it became something that could happen, I asked my wife and our girls, and it was pure giddiness at that point that we could be coming back home. So it was a great opportunity, and thankful for Coach Day for providing it.
Were you approached about coming here, or did you inquire about coming to Ohio State?
Just wanted to know, how much flexibility I would have to help with the linebackers. Obviously, Coach Knowles is, from everything I've heard, a fantastic and brilliant mind. So being able to have an influence on the room, and obviously working, under Coach Knowles will be a big part of that. But I had a lot of responsibility in South Bend with the linebacker room, and look forward to kind of earning everybody's trust, here in the building, and kind of learning his scheme and how he wants to go about things.
Ryan said that when this idea came about, basically even before last year, the question was, do you really want to put in the hours to be a coach? When you had a successful pro career, I'm sure that you didn't have to do this.
Yeah.
What is it about coaching that made you decide, yes, this is something I want to commit to? Because it's obviously a very demanding thing.
Yeah, the hours are they're tough. Recruiting is a world that you're now being in it for a year. It's a 24/7 deal, and so it takes up a lot of your time. But if you're organized, you can make it all happen and still be a big family person. But I think for coaching, for me, it's you're impacting young people in the game that you love. I've played this game since I was in 4th grade. I've loved playing it. It's been obviously a deep passion of mine. I loved being still around the game when I was doing media. It was just close enough, to get the juices flowing, and then I had to find out whether I wanted to do it. And so I just took an opportunity, and I'm thankful to Marcus, obviously, for giving me that opportunity and trusting me to put in that work. And you learned a lot about yourself throughout the last year. When you don't have a template for how you want to teach, you really got to start from scratch and all right, how do I want to teach these guys the position? Last time I had talked ball in a locker room setting was when I'm with the New Orleans Saints. So the level of which you can talk football and route concepts and alignments and all that, you have to kind of pair. You forget what they don't know, and then each kid's different, right? You got to teach player A and player B maybe completely differently. So learned a lot about myself as a teacher, and then by the time fall came around, I felt like I was in a good rhythm.
You were buddies.
Ryan Day go when you moved here?
He first inquired, if I was something I'd be interested in. I said I have to check with the boss, who is my wife. She was, absolutely, as long as you feel like you'd be happy and have the same kind of impact on the linebacker room that I did up there. And then it just kind of kept going back and forth. He was, you could sense his passion that he really wanted to bring me back, that he thought the timing was right, and that he really thought that I could help the room and help Coach Knowles out and just kind of be another voice there to kind of help. So I think his determination was kind of the factor of, this isn't just an information call. It's something that they really wanted to get done. So.
What was Marcus's reaction when you told him you were leaving from here?
I hate to let people down just by nature. That's who I am. But it was tough because Marcus and I go back, to freshman year and in each other's weddings and the whole deal. So thankfully, Marcus was great about it. Basically said, if that's where your heart, if that's where you want to be, that's where your family wants to be, he's like, then go back home. He's I was worried that you never know how people will take that. You know, it's a very competitive industry, and I love Coach Freeman, but he was supportive in the sense of like, we're always going to be, like, our friendship isn't going to be altered by this. And so we've talked plenty of times since, and so I'm confident that we'll continue to stay close.
Has it hit you yet that you're back at Ohio State? I mean, that you're back kind of home?
Yeah, I mean, it did when you pull up to the Woody, and now they got the fingerprint thing now. Before it was something different, but of course it does. It's hit me, and just seeing being back in these colors and being back home, and it's just awesome. It's awesome to be back, and I'm just thankful for the shot, really.
How inspiring is it to see what Brian Hartline has done and into a similar path to what you're taking now?
Brian's done, obviously a great job. To see the growth that he's had, and to see, obviously his recruiting is incredible, but also just the development of that room, and to see him continue to grow has been encouraging. He's a great example of what can happen, and a lot of there's timing issues there as well, and I just love how he has taken every opportunity and he's been ready. Like, opportunities present themselves as players, as coaches, but you have to be ready for the moment. And he's definitely ready for the moment, and that wide receiver room has taken off, and I know he's excited about the new challenge and the promotion. But it's he's a great example of just a guy who put the work in, willing to go, and a good template for former guys who want to come in and try to work and aspire to kind of grow in this profession.
Do you have like a long-term goal of where you want to get to as a coach, or are you just kind of in the moment right now?
No, I think for me, it all starts with, can I be the best linebacker coach in the country? And can I aspire to do that at my alma mater? I think that kind of, to me, is the first thing that comes to mind. And so I'll attack this year with that vision, and already trying to dive in the playbook on Coach Knowles and what he likes to do and the techniques he likes to teach. And kind of figure out the system in that way. I was joking with Tommy earlier that he might have to install the first few defenses to me, and teach me a little bit, which will help him. Once you are able to teach it, it helps you relearn it. And so, we'll watch some tape together, hopefully next week. And so, it's just how do you go about immersing yourself in all the details of the scheme, and then building from there. And so it's the way I was as a player. I had to know it all, or at least try to know it all, because I was never a player that you take a few false steps, you're going to track somebody down. I had to be on top of it. I had to use anticipation. So just try to use the same mindset, as a coach.
You said that you are a GA. Jim is still a linebacker coach.
Yeah.
What is the kind of the delineation of duties? Is he said, I'm going to delegate a lot of this position stuff to you?
Yeah, he, we did some position-specific stuff even today, during the workout. Team run this morning, and it's like, go ahead, go run individual, So I think as long as it's coaching the guys up, that'll be you have to make sure you're always speaking the same language as the D coordinator, especially when he's the linebacker coach. And I had to do it a year ago under Al Golden. I was trusted with the linebacker room, but you're making sure you're speaking the language of what you can't be saying stuff that is, contrary to what your boss wants to be taught. So I'm still learning all those things, but from my understanding, it's, hey, really go and attack it and coach the room, so film study, preparation, individual drills, and give him the freedom that he really had the last few years of his career, from my understanding, is the ability to kind of walk around, practice, and kind of see different areas of the game.
I don't know that he had somebody like you last year with the linebackers. I don't know if it was that person.
Yeah, from my understanding, Coy did a lot of work with those guys, and was able to do a lot of the individual with Jim. And so, we'll see. I'm sure this thing will evolve too as you go through the spring, and you kind of figure out. You're meeting each other for the first time. You're working together, and I'm just here to support, him in any way possible, and kind of see it if he wants to do it a certain way, we'll do it that way.
How much does it help that you've got veteran guys, Toppy and Steele?
Yeah.
And, you got some veteran.
Well, it's a huge blessing, and I learned that last year because the group that I coached at Notre Dame these are guys now that this year they are fifth-year seniors. So they were already guys who had graduated, seen a lot of football. I think I was their third D coordinator, so they had certain knowledge of the game that you could start with. And so the passion was really like, these guys are fine, but it's the young kids who didn't have that experience that you're truly trying to build up. So it'll be fun really just kind of getting to know them as people. And I think when you're a coach of players, you have to invest in them personally. And the more you know them personally, the more you can get out of them. And so I told them the day after the workout, I can't wait till my family gets here so they can meet my daughters and that my daughters will wear them out. But you try to bring them into your family because there will be times during a season when, whether it's something personal in their lives or whether it's the season, like not everything's all hunky-dory, and they got to be able to know that they trust you, and then you're able to push them harder, when they trust you. So
You had said that the last time you talked ball was with the Saints. So you're talking probably a couple 30-year-old linebackers.
yeah.
Then you have to go, next time you talk ball, and you're probably talking to 16 and 17-year-olds trying to convince them why they should go to a school. Did you have to learn to fall in love with recruiting over the last year? And when you said that you wanted to see if you liked coaching, how much was that, like, do I want to be a coach? How much was that of the recruiting process?
Recruiting's definitely part of it.
You like it?
Yeah, you have to like it. I mean, you gotta love it. And recruiting is relationship building, and you're trying to figure out what's important to not only the kid, but what's important to the family. And you just have to be willing to be consistent and build those relationships. And if you're not willing to put in the work and the time to make phone calls, to consistent, like the only thing that I haven't done in recruiting, because I'm a GA technically, is be able to actually go on the road and see high school coaches. But as far as that, like, I met with all of our linebacker recruits as if I was the linebacker coach. So I would have a 30-minute meeting with them, and then I would take them to, the DC/LB coach, and then he'd go to free. Like, so I had recruiting presentations. I had ways of connecting with the family. I was responsible for phone calls. So you have to just be consistent in that respect, and really just you're building a friendship and you're getting to know people. And so the way that you always start to like people as you get to know any friend is you have to listen, and you have to ask questions, and you have to be authentic. If you're trying to kind of cut it all short and skip all that, people will find you out really quick.
I think it was like 14 years ago that a linebacker at Ohio State decided that after a national loss, he was coming back for a senior year, probably could have went to the NFL. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
A guy in your room now
Yeah.
who kind of did the same thing, big stage, takes a loss, comes back for a senior year, could have went to the NFL. How excited are you to work with Tommy? Not in, obviously Tommy and Steele together, but Tommy in general, there seems to be some similarities there. Does that excite you to be able to work with him?
It does. I'm excited to work with both of them. Just from everything you hear and that I observed today, being at really the first workout that I've been at, is the leadership, just the way they play the game. I've been watching some of the installs, and you see the way Tommy plays the game, the way Steele does. So I'm excited for the whole room. But yeah, there's a little bit of similarity there with Tommy, and I was just letting both those guys know, like, reach out with any questions you have. Don't hold anything back, and it'll take me maybe a little bit to kind of get to the point in the scheme where I can help them. But there will be some stuff instantly that I'll be able to help with running back alignments or tight end splits or things that the offense is trying to attack you, where I've been in their shoes, literally. And I know the issues and where we can get beat and how to protect ourselves in those situations. So I'm excited to work with those guys. But really, it's the whole group, and just really you got to earn their trust first, and you got to prove that you care about them, and that's already started.
Building off the recruiting stuff a little bit, Hartline first got officially hired as the receivers coach. Part of that idea from a recruiting standpoint is, who better to show you how to be an Ohio State wide receiver than a dude who's done it and walked the path you want to walk?
Yeah.
I don't know if you thought about it that way, but eventually you want to be an assistant coach and keep you to move up his ranks. Is there any part of you that looks at Hartline and goes, I can do that exact same thing for a linebacker at Ohio State?
Well, that's the goal. I mean, I'd be lying to you if that wasn't the goal. Ohio State's such a storied program and such a unique place that it should be wide receiver U, it should be LBU, D-line. Like, you should have all that. I truly believe that. Now, selfishly, being a linebacker, I believe that any defense stems from having alphas in the linebacker room. I feel like they have to push the whole defense forward. So yeah, that's the end goal. It's a lofty goal, but I mean, when you're at a place like Ohio State, you come here, and once you've lived it, you understand what the standards are. And so it takes a special young man to understand, like, the standard is to win every single game. Like, and sometimes when you're playing teams that aren't up to your talent level, it's not just to win it, but win it impressively. Like, that's the standard of what being a Buckeye is, and that pressure isn't for everybody. So you have to find the right kids, the most talented kids, the kids that fit, want to be mentally and physically tough, and then try to get them to come here. But it's a lot more natural, obviously, when it's somewhere where you've played, and Ohio State, to a degree, sells itself. But you have to, when you have somebody who's been in it, walked through it, gone through the same stresses. Times change, all that change. Social media, I get all that. I'm not naive to all that, but it's still the same. It's the same stuff as a young man that what you're going through. So I can relate, to a lot of these young men, what they're going through, and I can help kids who haven't been here, that want to come up and visit, give them an absolute, honest perspective of what it's like.
And from just a talent standpoint, what you've gotten a chance to see from CJ, does he remind you of anybody? Just kind of your initial thoughts on a kid coming into his second year?
I mean, just a ton of talent, unbelievable movement skills, looks the part, and just really excited to get to know him and to continue to work with him, because you can see the talent there. I mean, it just pops on the field, and kind of the way he moves, and just watching him run today was impressive. So there's a lot of facets to playing LB, but when you looked at all the guys, you're like, man, yeah, he's an impressive looking kid. And so I'm excited to get to work once spring ball starts.
You're not able to go on the road for recruiting, but you still have to navigate the NIL.
Yeah.
How are you adjusting to that? How is this different? I hate to compare one place to another, but it's different in ND to here. And
yeah.
How do you do it?
I mean, really, you're pushing along those conversations really up the chain. That's what we did there at Notre Dame, and that's what here. I mean, it's only been a few days since I've been back, but it's one of those things where, like, as a grad assistant, I can't guarantee anything. So it's obviously a constantly evolving thing in college football right now, and you're always trying to figure out what's real, what's not. Does it even matter? There's a whole lot that goes on with it. And so all I know, like, when it comes to that, I don't really try to worry too much about the NIL aspect. I try to worry more about, like, do I have an honest enough relationship with this kid and his family to where he trusts me to develop him, and then if that's a factor in his decision, the power of Ohio State will come through.
I'm curious, just logistically, I don't know, maybe you've answered this. Did you have a place in South Bend? Did you rent? I mean,
no, we sold the house here, moved there.
Wow.
And now we gotta do it all over again.
Okay, I didn't know. Like,
yeah. I'll drive back tonight. 'Cause we're off tomorrow and Friday, so I'll go back tonight and see my family and enjoy the weekend with them, and then come back late Sunday night. It's like deja vu, doing it all.
You
I was
gave
doing
up
it
a
the
lot.
other way. I was doing it the other way last year. So.
Do you want to live in the same area? Or are you guys looking in a different area, or?
We're all over the place right now with it, whether to rent for a few months or to where more homes pop up. I would assume it'd be in the same area. We were out in Dublin, kind of the Dublin-Powell area, but inventory is limited at this time. So.
What was the first conversation with Tommy Eichenberg like, and what do you, as a guy who sort of filled that role that he's filling now, What was that connection like? Did he grunt or did he speak? Because Jim said that some of his first conversations were just in grunts.
Yeah, no, we first text communicated, and I asked him to put me in a group chat with all the guys, just to introduce myself to everybody and become available, and obviously get their numbers. But no, we've talked. Just basically shared his excitement to learn from me as much as he can, and I just told him, like, look, I'm looking forward to just to getting to know each other and to putting that time in the film room and studying the game, and we'll just kind of see where this whole thing goes. But told him that I really respect him as a player from everything I know from afar, and the more you watch, the more you're just impressed. So I'm just excited to continue to dive into all the tape, kind of see maybe where I can help, and to then, heck, in the areas where he's strong, just continue to build on what he's already accomplished.
In how many words did he express his excitement?
Oh, I don't remember. Yeah, you're right. I mean, he's not the most long-winded, but even today, he's like, hey, whenever you want to watch tape, let's get after it. So there's not much fluff, which could be a good thing.
Have you thought about how different this job could have been for you if Tommy and Steele had decided to not come back? I mean, would it have changed your mind?
I'm not sure it would have changed my mind, to be honest with you, because there's only one place that's home. So having opportunity to coach back where you were living, in a place where you played, your alma mater, it's just so easy and natural to sell it, to people who are coming in and to pour your energy into it. And not that I didn't. I mean, I poured everything into Notre Dame while I was there, and I was blessed with a really mature, really good room of linebackers, guys that I'll be fans of, as their careers develop. But it wouldn't have affected my decision, because ultimately it's the place and the people and the opportunity here at your alma mater is what drew me.
Generally speaking, what do you think about the 4-2-5, only having 2 starting linebackers? I know you guys are going to mix things up, but what do you think about the 4-2-5?
Well, to be honest, I know that after talking to Heartline and a bunch of people about the scheme, is that it's difficult to go against, and there's a lot to it. I was talking with Coach Walton about it, because I played for Coach Walton when I was with the Rams. So Coach Walton was my DC for a year, and so we've had conversations about it. I love how attacking it can be. I love how things can be grouped together and can appear to be very complex to the offense, but once you get it down, very simple. The hard thing for me is, like, you know me, Dave, I want to dive in and know the ins and outs of everything, and it's like day 3. So it's like I have to calm myself down and be like, it's okay. It's going to take a little time to surely chew it out and spit it out, but I'm excited to keep learning it. But yeah, a lot of times, to be honest, when we were at Notre Dame, we played so much sub or nickel defense anyway. There was a Mike and a Will in the field, and I think that's where just college football has gone, is that it's so spread out. People are trying to stretch you horizontally and vertically. So it's funny. I was talking to Steve Spagnuolo, who was my head coach at the Rams, who's now DC with the Chiefs, last year, and I said, any advice as I get into this? And he said, coach offense. It's getting too hard he said it's too hard to coach defense in football anymore. So that joke has always kind of stuck with me.
You mentioned that